So, I would like to welcome our speaker for today, and I would like her to introduce herself again, and then we could start the meeting. Welcome, Nazarene.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here this evening. My name is Nazarene, like Martha said. The second name seems to challenge quite a number of people, but it is Kiwinga. I'm happy to be here this evening. And I'm very passionate about mental health, most particularly psychological distress and psychological resilience. And probably you would wonder why that. And I'll probably say that a little bit later. I am completing my master's in clinical psychology in a few weeks. The founder of Safe Space Mental Health Services. I'm passionate about people and about mental health. I'm trained in CBT. I also volunteer at a rehab for those who can't pay for the cost, and that is the neglected street men of our society. Also a member of the Kenya Counselors and Psychology Association. And so today is a mentorship, particularly mentorship on research, but it's based on the first research that I did and the learnings that I took from that. And why we are where we are at as you know, with regards to all these people who are going back to school and what their experiences are. I'm sharing a PowerPoint presentation. Just let me know if you can see it, Martha.
Yeah, I can actually see the PowerPoint. So you can just proceed. I can see
amazing.
it, yeah.
So it's my scholarly journey. That's it. I'm telling my story today. Today it's not a colloquium, so I'm not giving the results of this research. I'm just basically introducing what's happening in the field and what my experience was as I did this research and my learnings. So what were my setbacks, the stumbles, and the successes? And probably there is someone here who is probably is in graduate school or doctoral school, or they are hoping to one day get there, or they've been there. They could probably agree with me on a thing or two, and they will have something to share. So if you have something to share that you agree with, you could just type on the chat, and let's just get moving. So the title of this research was Psychological Distress Among Graduate Students in Employment. And so I'll just take it away and just start off. If you have something you'd like to know, you can just chat. And I know that Martha will be able to take us through the moderation of this session. So why psychological distress? That is probably the question you will ask. And before anything becomes a challenge, you know, in the mental health space, people will begin with distress before they can, you know, before you can say that they're having anxiety or they're having depression, or it begins from the distress. So that's probably where I like to begin. So what is psychological distress? Actually, it relates the emotional anguish that is associated with stressors and the clamor of everyday living, which you and I go through every day. And sometimes we find it difficult to cope. Sometimes we have life events that don't stop happening because we are doing things, we are working and we are going to school. It doesn't mean we don't lose loved ones. We don't get involved in, you know, motor vehicle accidents. Things are happening as we are going by. People get fired from work. This leads to emotional suffering, and there are challenges in the ability to cope. So why am I passionate about mental health research? One writer said that by conducting research, researchers attempt to reduce the complexity of problems, discover relationships between seemingly unrelated events, and ultimately improve the way we live. So what am I doing, and what are other researchers doing? They're trying to improve the way we live today and hopefully in the days to come. So research shows that health issues relating to mental, neurological, and behavioral disorders are growing worldwide. And they're responsible for about 10.4% of a disability-adjusted life lost in years. So if somebody was going to live to 70, they'll probably lose about 10.4% of that. So 3/4 of this load lies within the low and middle income countries. So researchers in these areas, which is where we are, and in the global south, we have to move a little bit faster and a little bit broadly and with greater courage to do research so that we can ease the days that are coming and the days that we are in. So why psychological distress? It affects output and productivity, and thus could be a factor that would cause attrition of student numbers. Now we are looking at those in employment, and consequently affecting the institution's goals of graduation, and of course, your individual goals. So what's the story behind corporate employees? World over, they face demands at working, depending on the employment type, the latitude of decision making. In a bid to improve their career perspectives, these individuals will pursue higher education. So probably you're thinking, if I pursue higher education, if I get a master's, I get a doctoral degree, I'll get a greater latitude in decision making, or I could probably change from one position to another at work. So the motivation for higher education could be both intrinsic and extrinsic. And the primary reason for going back to school would be probably to improve the existing body of knowledge that you have, or you could be having experience but you don't have the papers for it. So you could also want to improve your social status. You want to be Dr. So-and-so, and that's a good thing. It could also be for purposes of self-actualization. You sitting back and thinking, I want to be a master's holder, I want to be a doctorate, a doctoral holder. So yet it offers other opportunities, and you can get involved with influential people. And I suppose that's a good reason also. So once, as an individual, you have entered the academic life, the stressors of the work environment don't cease. Life events don't stop happening. Therefore, you become exposed to an ever-increasing demand on the resources that are available to you to perform at work and academically. So according to Hoffman, as individuals pursue their career and educational inspirations, students have to deal with social, personal, and emotional challenges. So coping with difficult situations and the individual's propensity for mental illnesses will determine whether they are capable of completing the arduous task of master's or doctoral degrees. You probably have heard of people who went to do their master's or their doctorate, and they did their theory and they have never completed their theory.
Oh, yeah.
And probably they'll graduate 10 years later. So this is why I am very passionate about this space, because if you step out to do something, I hope it is with an intention to complete. So how can we help scholars to be able to complete their journey? So anyone who has probably tried to do research, you could probably remember your first day of methods of research class. And you're thinking, oh my God, what is this thing? And mine was no different. The lecturer was talking and I was thinking, what is he talking about? What are research objectives? Why are we doing research? What is the value of doing this research? And I from my journey, there is something I have come to know, that the beginning is the most important part of the work. In the middle, at the end, is great, but the most important, as Plato would have us understand, is the beginning. So my beginning was no different from most that makes people never complete their research. So I did not understand what the lecturer was talking about in the first 4 weeks. And I was in distress indeed, because my intention was to complete. And so I came to the realization that I had to seek a different way of doing this research, because the narrative out there is that research is hard and people suffer and people pay other people to do their work. So I had to accept for me that there was a need for me to know how to get around this weakness. So what can I say to anyone who is in that space or who is, hoping to get in that space? That the discovery you need to make is to know you. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you know? What don't you know? What are you willing to step out there to seek? So that for me was the discovery of knowing. Guess what? I came from a background in pure sciences, and this was social sciences, and I was like, oh my God, this is entirely different. So knowing you is very important. So what's the next move? Is to pursue solutions. I would say that it is best to not just get stuck at the place where you don't know what to do. And that's why many people are in Journal Club, and it's a lovely place that they're the ones hosting us, Ada Africa. And for you, we are eternally thankful that you begin to pursue solutions. You begin to ask people, determine what resources are available for you. So what was available for me? Available for me was my mentor. Someone who I just resonated with. She didn't know she was going to be my mentor, but I sat in class and I decided, I'm going to pursue you. You're really good at this, and you're going to help me. And so I made up my mind that she was going to help me. And so what do you do for yourself? Move. Don't get stuck in the space of you don't know what to do, and now you can't move. So I'm trying to move I'm trying to move this the next one, and I seem to have a challenge. So just give me a minute. Sorry about that. It seems to have hung. Just give me a minute and I'll just sort it out. Just allow me to stop sharing because it seems to have hung, and then I'll share it again. Okay, we seem to have a challenge. Just give me a sec. I don't know what the challenge is, but I will figure it out. I think we are good. Just allow me to share it now. Okay. Amazing. So I may want to just stick on that space so that I don't get stuck again. I hope everyone can see that. So what did I do? I sought out a mentor. And the one thing probably I could say to anyone who's seeking a mentor, I don't know what your faith is or how you move, but for me, I actually prayed about this. And so when I reached out to her, she was really, very open to this. And I call a mentor the amazing friend, because this is the person who allows you to see the hope that is inside of you. I am almost, this, I don't know, I don't have the facts I can't back this up with facts, but I know that many people have benefited greatly from having a mentor. So if you can find someone to mentor you in research, it works great. They can see what you can't see about yourself. Because when you look in the mirror, all you can see is your inabilities to do at that point. But they can see the hope that is still inside of it that's helping you to fight through this. The mentor empowers you or me to see the possible future and to believe that it can be obtained. That's what Sean says. She could see what I would become, though I couldn't. And for that, I am eternally thankful. And this is what she said. Nazarene, you're not reinventing the wheel. And then she pointed me in the right direction. And that is why today I am here speaking to you and hoping that you can be able to find that amazing friend. So what did it take for me? It took courage. It took courage to be wrong, because it is only when you're wrong that you get the chance to get it right. And courage is understanding what you don't need to be afraid of. It is the first quality that guarantees, it is the first quality of humanity. That's what we need, because it's the quality that guarantees all others. You will skip to the next level only if you have courage to be unafraid, or to be afraid and do it anyways. So have the courage to ask for help in research. It's one easy way to learn. And there is always someone who knows something that you don't. That is one of the major lessons I have taken from research. And have the courage to put in the work. It's the ethical way to get what you want. You can have the courage to take corners, but it's not the ethical way to do it. So have the courage to put in the work, because it's going to ask for a lot. So my next step after putting courage together was jumping into the deep end. And how did I get there? I put in work on myself internally and externally. That hope which I couldn't see, that my mentor could see, I began to work on it and to grow it. And then I began to work on my external environment, on my support system, because graduate school needs a support system. It needs those people that you live with, that you interact with, for them to be supportive of what you're doing, and for them to keep checking on you, like, Nazarene, did you ever complete that thesis? What were the results? So that if you didn't complete, then you keep pushing. And my mentor did a really good job with that. And the people who say to you, you can do this, that's working on your external environment. You need that kind of people around you. And this is not just in thesis or in research mentoring, that will go about in life generally. So working on my environment was another thing. Time management. I've never been good at time management. I sort of just do one thing and continue with it until I complete. So that was a challenge for me. And determining that I'll do this for this number of hours, and then I'll do the next one for this number of hours. And then working on the family so that they can be supportive, depending on who family is for you. It could be you probably live with your nuclear family, your extended family, or even your research community, so that they're aware of where you are at and the challenges that you're facing. So now, directly related to research, what did I do? I picked up my topic and I read widely. If you don't read widely, you will have challenges with your chapter 1 and chapter 2. And ultimately with your chapter 5. So reading widely is absolutely important. Read other people's papers. Like my mentor said, you're not reinventing the wheel. Read what other people have done, so that you don't do something that's already done within your own population. You could probably borrow a few tips here and there. Then read other people's, make sure, most importantly, that if your institutional guides, whether it's for the thesis or the doctoral dissertation, you read it and have it like at the fingertips, because your supervisor will use that to check you along the way. Another thing that I found very useful is to read through the APA manual, or keep referring citation. That's a challenge. How to write the headings and things like that. They're small things, but they keep getting you, they keep giving you setbacks. For me, the major one was citations. APA citation was a huge one. So you learn a lot of things by just putting in the work, because without putting in the work, you are not going to go anywhere. So what were my stumbles, you would ask? IRB was a stumble. I didn't know how much they needed, so I learned on the way, like the way you learn on the go, like you're tripping and you're like, okay, so they need me to pay this much amount of money. And then you go to the next research and you're like, oops, they've added. So it's good to know while you're beginning, just do your mini research for your research. Then the requirements for the ethical review, what do they need? They need your CV, prepare all these things in advance, so that when you're ready, having now been cleared by your supervisor, you have your photo, you have your CV, you have your payments, you have everything ready, so that you just go to your folder and just attach the document and send it. Also understand the timelines for approval. It will lower your psychological distress and your anxiety levels because you're probably crossing your fingers to complete at a certain timeline. Then the other one is NACOSTI, which is the licensing body in Kenya. And of course, I know we are not just, I have heard there are people who are not from Kenya. So in your country, there is the licensing body. So this is the National Commission for Science and Technology and Innovation in our country, Kenya. So check out which is your licensing body, find out what the fees are required. How do you maneuver through the portal? What are the timelines for them to give you your license so that you're able to work within your timelines, particularly for those who want to graduate? That's important. Then there is the other one, the elephant, is data collection. Yeah, you're going to do data collection online. Of course, that is in your research methodology in chapter 3. But then there is the challenge of timelines when you decide, for instance, to do online data collection. It's not in your hands, which is very different from physical. So long as you have all your ethical approval and your licensing, so your next challenge will be. So I was challenged in a lot of ways with regards to those 3 areas. And so those would be the lessons I would say. Seek in advance to understand what am I required to do within those 3 areas. So having stumbled, what were my lessons and where are my successes? So I learned you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. So you have to study to earn. In research, I'm not sure there is a shortcut. That was my learning. You have to work for what you need to get. Aristotle said the pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. So I have come to be a lover of research. If you are hoping to have, to be a full-time scholar or to be in, the research world on a long-term basis, this is going to be important that you develop pleasure while working. Enjoy research amazingly, like I do, and I'm hoping to infect someone with that so that they begin to have pleasure in doing research. My take is that opportunities are usually disguised as hard work. Research, they say, is hard work. So that right there lies an opportunity. So most people don't recognize them. Be that one person who is able to recognize the opportunities. And let's change the face of our tomorrows, because in research, we can actually improve the way we live. You can imagine if no one ever researched for the vaccine for chicken pox, I don't know, or something, the Spanish plague, we'd still be dying of things of that nature. So because they put in the hard work, there was an opportunity. So that for me was a success. Just to understand that there is an opportunity was a success for me. So finally, what do you need to arm yourself with before you can even get into research? Learn what the terminologies mean. Learn what is chapter 1, what's chapter 2, what does background of the study mean? What is a statement problem? What does operational definition of terms? What do those things mean? Don't just start. You've been told, do your concept note, so just throw in the concept note. You will have challenges along the way. Oh, the beauty of research, the supervisors. Learn to accept corrections with grace. Your supervisor been there, done that. You can only learn, you can only get better when you have a supervisor. So 1, pray for your supervisor, whichever way you do it. And learn to accept what they say and go with the flow. It'll help to lower your psychological distress. Peer review other people's work. Ask your classmates or someone else who's doing a research that's within your area of interest. What are you doing? Could you send me your work and I can read? And that will be good. Whenever you have an opportunity, don't allow such opportunities to pass you by. We learned that's where greatness comes from. So take every chance to learn and have a partner to journey with in this journey. Besides having your mentor, having a partner is very important. Whether they are subject matter, specialists or not, but have a partner, have someone, whether it's an accountability partner, whether it's someone who pushes you when you're stuck someplace, just have someone. Don't do this all on your own. If anything, you're doing to improve your research, to improve the way other people live. So why would you want to do this by yourself? It's good to have someone else you can do that with. So this is what I can say to my first experience of research. Thank you for the tragedy. I needed it for my art. And so I'm eternally thankful for having done that research. When Ada Africa allows me, I'll probably do a colloquium and give you the results for that research. Those are my contacts. I can be reached in that way. So thank you very much, Martha. I would like to stop there.
Wow. Wow, wow. That was really, really good, Nazarene. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was a wonderful presentation. We have actually learned a lot from what you just said. And I think what I really picked from what you said is that we should always be willing to learn from our mentors, and we should be courageous enough to actually accept that we need mentors and identify people who can be friends as mentors. So as we proceed, I'd like to ask the members of the team, the guys who are in the meeting, if does any one of you have any questions or comments that you would like to give? Any comments or questions?
Hello.
Oh, hello, yes, we can hear you.
Thank you for the presentation. My name is Buto Indi. I'm a master's student. I've done my first year and I'm in my research, that's second year. One of the things I've learned from the presentation is that we need a mentor, and also we need to work together with our supervisor. I can say I was in a bit of stuck, and I've had so many thoughts of dropping out, but I think with the presentation, which I'm currently doing the proposal, and I think that there is always that fear of, am I going to finish or am I going to drop out? So maybe the question is to the men, how do you undergo this fear of not going to finish, or are you going to drop out? Because I realize research is quite different from the undergraduate research. Yeah, that's my comments and question.
Okay, I think Nazarene, you could respond to that before the next person would probably ask their question.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't get your name. If you don't mind.
My name is Buta.
Buta. Thank you, Buta, for your question. Allow me to say that most of the people who go into graduate school, there is a motivation for it. Along the way, as I said, life happens, and you begin to be afraid of, maybe this is not what I was meant to do. Maybe this thing is too hard for me. And that is why I said, get a partner. I did not have the fear of not completing. That never was a fear. My fear was not being able to understand. So that is why I sought someone who could help me with that. You could seek out, having conversation always clears things. If you're afraid that you will not complete, what are the things that get you there? What makes you afraid? Is it because there is something you're not understanding? Or is it other life events? Might you want to work through the thing that makes you afraid, like I did, before you can embark, or work alongside your fear? Like I said, courage is the ability to know what you need to fear. Like you don't need to fear to not complete, because before you started, you were afraid enough. So what I say, jump into the deep end, start off, but get someone to walk with you. Get someone who believes in you, someone who sees the hope that is inside of you, someone who doesn't see the fear, someone who will tell you, look, I can see hope in you. You can do this, even if you don't know what this is, but you know they can see it. I have a friend who is very dear to me who says, you have so much inside of you, I wish you knew. But so you need that one person or two people. That's it. I talk about your support environment. Check it out, Buta. That could be what is at 50% probably, and you need to get it at 90% so that you can move to the next level. I hope that helps, Buta.
Yeah, thank you, it helps.
Okay, that's good enough. I think we could move to the next question. Is there anybody else with a question, comment, or a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Martha. Thank you, Nazarene. Nazarene is my colleague, and actually she is a partner. She's quite very authentic what she's talking about. I've always been reaching out to her for support in my thesis, and she's ahead of me actually because I'm still struggling with chapter 1 and 2, but I know she's available. Thank you. That was very inspirational. I'll still reach out to you for support.
Thank you for the comment, Rachel. I can see someone else. Is there someone else whose hands are up? Someone who'd like to give another comment or ask a question? I can see on the chat, Fanuel Mwashigadi has written, thanks Nazarene for the inspirational talk and guidance. This will help me with my thesis. Colin Shoko has also written, thank you very much for the support. And this was very inspiring. Anybody else? Comments or questions from your side? Oh, I can see there is Seraphine. Seraphine has also written, I enjoyed the session, very inspiring. Wow, yeah, it was such an inspiring and informative session on research. Anybody else from the team, Ada Africa? Your comments and questions?
I'm seeing here,
Yeah.
Colin is saying about dealing with fear of failure. Maybe you could touch on that before those who have come late.
I don't know whether it was a comment or it was a question. I think
It was a
Colin,
comment.
it was a comment. Okay. I don't know if there is another question with regards to the fear of failure. What I have learned in research, it's something, if it's something you haven't done before, definitely you're going to have the fear of the unknown. But the only way to work through the fear of unknown is to get to know the unknown. And the only way you know the unknown is get to tackle the unknown. There is no other way. And every day that you put yourself out there, that you jump in the deep end, your chances of surviving to swim to the shallow end get better. And eventually you're doing very sharp pencil dives into the very deep of the ends. So be unafraid, or be afraid and do it anyways. That's what I can tell researchers. Be afraid, that's okay, because you're only afraid of what you don't know. Then you get to know it and you're like, what was I afraid of again? I was afraid of being told by my supervisor that they don't like what I've done, or I was afraid of this or that. Just get out there, have the grace to accept that you don't know. And in fact, research is questions. It is saying, I don't know this, and I'm willing to find out what it is. So if anything in research, you're saying, I don't know. That's where you start from. That's why you raise what are called research questions. You have objectives. Like when you went to grad school, you had objectives to complete. And that's where we talked about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So you had something you wanted to do. Those were your goals, those were your objectives. And then here are the questions. And when you're asking your 3 or 5 questions in research, you're saying, I don't know what the psychological distress levels in Kenya are. I don't know whether there is a connection between gender and psychological distress. I don't know, if anything, whether there is psychological distress amongst my population. So you're starting from a place of not knowing. That's what research is about. And so you are afraid. That's great. You're a candidate for doing research. So be afraid and do it anyways, or be unafraid and do it. Step out. Don't remain in the space of being afraid and not doing it. Be afraid, that's okay, because until someone steps out, they cannot know what they could do. So for those who are afraid, that's one great, I would say, ingredient to success. Only if you're willing to jump into the deep end afraid. Because if you have a mentor, you won't sink. If you have a partner, you won't sink. And that's why I say it is important for you to identify someone to partner with, somebody to mentor you. And it's everyone's been there. So like my mentor said, and God bless you wherever you are, you're not reinventing the wheel, you're not doing anything new. It's been done before. So it won't kill you, it can only make you better and greater. So step out. Be afraid, but do it. Be unafraid and do it anyways. That's what I would say to those who are afraid. Someone said here, allow me, Martha, to just pick it up. And she said, yes, the first step is always the hardest. Absolutely. And this is your first step. And this was probably the hardest thing you ever did, and say, what am I going to listen in on to? And this could probably be what shakes you off the fear and say someone else was afraid and did it. We are all afraid of different things because of our story. Anyone in mental health knows that our stories determine what we are afraid of. And sometimes it's really nothing. So step out, be afraid and step out. And you realize you're greater than you think you are.
Wow. 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 I actually lack words I really don't have words to comment on that, but yes, it's actually very inspiring. You have to jump into the deep end, even though you're afraid. Just jump in and do it. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'll continue checking on the comments on the chat, which say I can see Anastasia saying thank you, very encouraging. And also Seraphine says, yes, the first step is always the hardest. And Ken Oscar says, thank you so much, Nazarene, for such an amazing presentation. I feel really guided as I prepare for my next academic levels. Many thanks. I see a lot of people have actually been very encouraged. Thank you very much, Nazarene. I don't know if there is anything you would like to add on to what you just told our students and people who are in the meeting. Is there any more that you'd like to add on top of that?
Well, I never allow an opportunity to pass, so I'll take it. Many a time I've had encounters with people and their supervisors, and people feel like the supervisor is a bit too stringent or is unkind or there's a bias of sorts. Allow me to just speak to that a little bit. Your supervisor can only make you great. That's one thing I can tell you for free. And they're tough. That's why they're supervisors. Okay. The lecturer who takes you through research methods barely peels the onion, barely removes the top cover of the potato. To get you to the center, that's the job of your supervisor. And there's a lot lying within you. And until your supervisor has coached you to bring out the best out of you, as I say, the best thing you can do is to accept corrections with grace. Sometimes I've had my work returned 3 times, 4 times. And I'm like, goodness gracious. But I have learned that grace is one thing. If you offer your supervisor, it goes a long way. One, in developing a really good relationship. People in my space in clinical science or in psychology will call that a therapeutic relationship. It's a good one where you both trust each other. And remember, you don't know as much as you think you do with regards to supervision. That is why you need a supervisor. That is why you're the student. So accept. That's important. Accept. I recognize you have finished your theory and you're great and ready to go. But the first thing you could do for yourself with regards to research is to accept that you don't know. That's why you have a supervisor. So send your concept note. Let them say, I don't like your objectives. And work with them to get the objectives okay. Before you move to chapter 1, don't just throw it under the table and say, my supervisor doesn't like me, or my supervisor doesn't like the color of my skin, or my supervisor doesn't like the way I talk. You have stuff you need to work on personally, probably internally, so that you can be able to be malleable enough to be supervised. Supervision actually states that there is one person who's superior to the other. Accept at this point while you're doing your thesis or your dissertation that you're not the superior person. That ability to accept will do you great good as you go along, because you'll send your chapter 1 and you've worked hours on it. You've cited, you've referenced, you've done everything you know. And note I said everything you know, and your supervisor says you don't know jack, you need to repeat. So accept that you don't know. It is your first step to knowing. That's probably what I would say with regards to supervisors. And they don't hate you. They're earning from you. Trust me. They want you to be as good as they are. So begin there.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those comments. I'm seeing on the chat, there's also Ahmed Abi. He says, please share us your email so that we can communicate with you further for encouragement. Then he says, maybe other participants don't want to end this session because of your inspirational insights. Thank you once again. Then you have Colin Shoko, who says, thank you for the motivation. Nazarene was feeling like giving up at some stage, especially when it comes to balancing work with schoolwork, with balancing work with schoolwork. And then Buta Oidi also says, thank you for the encouragement. I would like you to know that for the participants, I'd like you to know that there's a form that has been sent out by Ada Africa. It's asking you to kindly fill the feedback form, and then you will be able to receive information that has been shared today by Nazarene in the meeting. So kindly fill that form and we shall give you more feedback. I don't know if Nazarene, you would be willing to share your email address to those who may be interested. But I think I saw something like that too. Oh yeah, she's actually shared.
I have shared it even on the chat.
Yeah, she's shared her email address on the chat. So anyone who's interested, maybe you could email her for more information. Yeah. I don't know. I'll give it. I'll ask the team members from Ida Africa to come and to come back to the platform and comment and give us some insights on what next.
Thank you very much, Nazarene. That was such a encouraging presentation, and Martha was very good moderating. And everyone seems to be positively impacted by this presentation. I don't know if it was by mistake, but I think Werimo Mwangi had raised her hand. Maybe.
Oh, I didn't see that. Sorry about that.
She did it briefly. Maybe she can. Werimo.
There's actually a question on the chat as well.
Oh, yeah.
From Mukora.
Yes. Well, how long does NACOSTI take to give the license? I think that's a question Aurelia will answer. Or
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't have the answer, but I'll inbox you that answer once I talk to Aurelia, who is in another meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
Or maybe Nazarene could answer that.
What I have seen is usually it would take up to about 2 weeks. You can be fortunate. For me, the first time it actually took a week. So it can be 2 weeks, can be two to 3 weeks, thereabouts. So it's good to know how long it takes, so that just you manage your expectations. But for me, the first one took 1 week. So I'll presume it also would depend on how much work they have. But anything between 2 to 3 weeks would be what it would go. But on average, it's 2 weeks.
Oh, perfect. So, guys, we still have time. We have 14 minutes. So maybe anyone else? We don't want to leave anyone who has a question. Yeah, I bear apologies of Joyce, by the way. Joyce, yeah, she couldn't make it today, but she'll be in our other subsequent sessions. And also Aurelia sent her apologies. Those who were here earlier got to see that. So anyone else? So I guess we can conclude there. Thank you very much once again, Nazarene and Martha. And thank you everyone for joining and sharing your feedback. I hope you have clicked the links and given your feedback. This will also help Nazarene also, as you know, to go through the feedback in detail. So thank you very much and see you on the next one. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye and thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. Goodbye. Thank you.